Good day, students. Last time, we learned that being politically aware is a must for every citizen, since politics and governance has a direct and significant impact on our lives. For this day, we will take a closer look at one of the central concepts of political science, which is power. Do you know that all of us may be affected by the play of power? In the same way, each of us wields power over other people, things, or situations. This lesson presents the nature and dimensions of power. When you think the word power, what comes to your mind? Like the concept of politics, there is also no single definition of power. We may define this term in various ways, based on the context we are going to use. In this sense, we will define power in the context of political science. According to Robert Dahl, power is the ability of person A to make person B do something that person B would not do on his or her own. From this definition, basically, power is the ability to exercise control or impose restrictions over individuals and compel other people to do certain tasks. Power is closely tied to the concept of authority, which is the right to exercise power in society. In other words, if a society approves of the exercise of power in a particular way, then that power refers to authority. How will you use your power to affect the behavior of other people? According to the social psychologists John French and Bertram Raven, individuals possess a degree of power based on the nature of their relationships with others. Power, therefore, could be classified according to several bases. The bases of power are coercive power, reward power, expert power, legitimate power, and referent power. Let's discuss and identify their differences for us to understand it better. First is coercive power. Coercive power is based on the ability of a person to compel others through the use of threats, punishment, or force. When your mother threatens you that she won't allow you to hang out with your friends if you failed to accomplish the household chores, is an example on how coercive power is being exercised within family. Second is reward power. It is considered as the opposite of coercive power. Reward power is based on the ability of a person to give rewards and benefits. If others expect that you will reward them for doing what you want, there's a high probability that they will do it. This may be done through giving bonuses and gifts, salary increase, a promotion, extra time off from work, and so on. An example of reward power is, the manager will be giving a bonus to the employees who will attain a perfect attendance for the month of September. Third is expert power. Expert power relies on the skills, knowledge, and experiences of a person. As an expert to a particular area, your ideas will be valued, and others will look up to you. For example, a doctor has an expert power over his patients. Why? Because he is considered as an expert when it comes to matters related to health problems, as well as in the field of medicine. As an individual who have enough knowledge and skills in this certain field, patients will have a high respect on you, and tend to trust you even more, as a doctor. Fourth is legitimate power. It is based on a person's position, role, and duties in a group. The scope of power is limited to situations that others believe you have a right to control. For example, the teacher asked the students to write an essay about martial law. In this situation, it only shows that a teacher possesses legitimate power inside the classroom, and this power was exercised through giving the students a certain task related to their learning. Last is referent power. Referent power is based on a person's personality and ability to attract followers. Individuals may possess referent power if others like them, admire them, or otherwise respect them. Celebrities are considered to have referent power because they can influence others in everything, from what products to choose, to which politician they elect. For example, Catherine Bernardo is one of the most influential actresses in her generation. In line with this, she have gained lots of followers, and she was able to influence her fans from buying products she endorses. Given the 5 bases of power, do you think an individual should have all kinds of power? Why, or why not? At this point, let us proceed to the power and authority. As mentioned a while ago, these two concepts are closely related to each other. You can't fully understand what authority is without knowing what power is. A German sociologist and philosopher, Max Weber, proposed a classification of powers based on the different types of authority. These are charismatic authority, traditional authority, and legal rational authority. First is charismatic authority. In here, the authority of an individual depends on his or her traits, and how he or she perceived by other people. Furthermore, charismatic authority is based on an individual personal qualities, or charisma, that makes him extraordinary. His power comes from the unbreakable faith and trust people put in him. Example of leaders who possessed charismatic authority are Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. Next is traditional authority. This type of authority is rooted in existing social ties and traditional values. The legitimacy exists because it has been accepted and practiced for a long time. An example of individuals who wield traditional power are monarchs and members of royal families, such as Queen Elizabeth II of Great Britain, who inherited power based on the traditional rules of succession for the monarchy. Last is legal rational authority. The authority of an individual is based on laws and regulations. In other words, an individual is able to exercise power because he or she have been empowered by law. Public officials, who were elected by the people, possessed this type of authority. After discussing the different types of authority, we will now distinguish the various forms of power in governance. The Constitution gives the government inherent powers that will help to achieve its goals and objectives. These powers are being exercised within the jurisdiction of the state. The police power, eminent domain, and power of taxation enable the government to undertake its activities, as well as ensure the welfare of citizens. Police power. It is the ability of the state to use the police force to exercise reasonable control over an individual, impose restrictions, and maintain peace and order within their territory. In the Philippines, the PNP, or the Philippine National Police, is mandated to enforce the law, maintain peace and order, prevent and control crimes, ensure public safety, and so on. Having a search warrant and warrant of arrest is an example wherein police power is being expressed. What are the differences between the two? A warrant of arrest authorizes police to detain you and keep you in custody for a period of time, while a search warrant authorizes police to search for evidences in the specific location. Power of eminent domain. This inherent power of the government refers to the acquisition of private property to convert it into public use. The examples of public use for which the government might exercise its power of eminent domain are public schools, roads, libraries, health centers, police stations, fire stations, etc. Under eminent domain, the owner has no choice, provided that just compensation is paid for the property taken over. Power of taxation. Power of taxation gives the right to the government to impose and collect taxes from its citizens. Taxes take many forms too. When you are an employee, you pay income tax. When you buy goods or avail services, you pay sales tax such as the value-added tax. As a citizen, we should be aware that our taxes must go to the various programs and activities of the government, not into the pockets of corrupt government officials. We should also take note that the government should provide basic services for the benefit of the public, not for the self-interest of selected few people in our society. In your opinion, which among the powers exercised by the government is most likely to be abused? States also exercise certain forms of power as they interact with each other in regional and international politics. These powers have a wider scope, since it is more concerned about international relations. Military power. It is the capability of a state to use the military strength to wage war against another state. The armed forces of the Philippines plays a crucial role in protecting the people and responsible for upholding the country's sovereignty. It is composed of the Philippine Army, the Philippine Navy, and the Philippine Air Force. They are tasked to defend the country against terrorism and other forms of threats. Economic power. It covers the ability of the state to use its resources and influence others by denying or giving them access to certain resources. Economic power is evident in the West Philippine Sea dispute. As ruled upon by an arbitral tribunal, Philippines has legal entitlements over the West Philippine Sea. However, President Duterte insisted that China will declare war if we keep on asserting our rights in the said territory. That's why, instead of defending our territorial rights in the West Philippine Sea, the current administration allowed China to have access and gain control in the country's exclusive economic zone. In addition, Chinese fishermen have been heavily exploiting the rich marine resources in Reed Bank and Scarborough Shoal. Psychological power. It is the ability of a state to influence other countries by using its reputation and image. To successfully achieve the goals of the state, psychological power requires the wise use of diplomacy, mass media, and propaganda. It's More Fun in the Philippines campaign is an example on how psychological power is being exercised by the government of the Philippines in order to boost its tourism. This campaign is a great idea in terms of promoting various tourist destinations. In addition, it also encourages other people to experience the beauty of our nature and have fun in the Philippines. Based on your understanding, how do you think power is expressed in government and governance? In studying politics, we should be mindful with the fact that power, as a central concept, is dynamic and has different dimensions, depending on who is imposing power and how that power is being exercised. For the last part, let's now move on to the possible effects of power. The main purpose of exercising political power is to ensure social control, which results in government influencing the individual's development. In addition, exercising various forms of power results in a well-defined hierarchy, which enables them to identify their roles, responsibilities, rights, and privileges. However, there are situations wherein power in government is corrupted by the personal and selfish goals of individuals. Because of these, individuals intervene with public service for their self-interest over the welfare of the people. Also, abuse and misuse of power by the government limits the freedom of individuals and may lead to loss of legitimacy. Let us end the discussion with the words of Lord Acton, a British historian. According to him, power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Great men are almost always bad men. Do you agree with this? Share your thoughts, and start using your power wisely.
Happy learning at home with lessons made easy by Olivarian GoTeach. One proud Olivarian.